All for One's Guide to a Peaceful Retirement, written by ScottishSunshine and read for you by Eleanor Elizabeth. Chapter 7. Be Prepared for Strays. Summary. Izuku picks up a stray. It does not have 4 legs. Izuku is aged around 3.5. There are some questions, Hisashi reflects, that he probably does not want to know the answer to. Has All Might ever had sex, for one? Such as, Izuku, why is there a tramp on my couch? There's a crash in the kitchen, and Hisashi can feel the twinges of a headache. Gigantomachia looks distinctly uncomfortable, but doesn't budge from his post standing over the man on the sofa. At least Izuku doesn't leave the stranger unsupervised. He's not a tramp, Papa! Izuku cries out as he runs into the room, his shirt distinctly wet, but an excited smile on his face. He's a hero! Hisashi glances back at the man, with his straggly hair, baggy black clothes, and dark circles under his eyes, lying there unconscious, and does not point out just how unheroic he looks. Frankly, the nasty gash on his head makes him look more like he got into a drunken brawl. And why, pray tell, is there a hero, he asks instead, bleeding all over my sofa? He got an owie, so we brought him home so you can kiss it better, Izuku explains with a beaming smile. Hisashi bites back his curse. Of course he has a healing quirk. He technically has 6, but who's counting? Of course he has used it on Izuku's bloody knees and bruised elbows, and burns, although only after taking photographs. Just let Mitsuki try and come after him. And of course Izuku, in his innocence, seems to have arrived at the decision that his father, a retired villain, is an appropriate person to provide medical attention to someone he picked up off the street. Izuku, I'm not going to kiss him, Hisashi sighs. Why didn't you call an ambulance? Makia forgot his phone, Izuku informs him, still smiling, and he's now definitely going to have to punish Gigantomachia. Stray heroes are one thing, but if something had happened to Izuku, he feels a tug on his sleeve and makes the mistake of looking down into those bright green eyes. Please, Papa? Hisashi has always been defenseless against his son's pleas, and the concept of getting rid of the stranger is appealing. And he can't exactly just kill him without possibly traumatizing Izuku. So with a sigh, he shuffles over to the sofa, presses a hand to the man's forehead, and activates one of his healing quirks. He does his best to ignore how awkward he feels, and waits for it to take effect. The close quarters, at least, help him notice the signature white scarf and yellow goggles. Eraserhead's eyes snap open with a flash of red, and the hero punches him. Papa! He hears Izuku shriek, and Gigantomachia growls as he blinks away the stars in front of his eyes and hopes his nose is not broken. Slowly, he looks up and winces as he sees the man standing on the couch with his dirty shoes. At least Gigantomachia had the presence of mind to grab Izuku, who looks torn between obeying instructions, if someone hurts you or Papa, stay with Makia, and wiggling free to run to his father's side. What the hell? Eraserhead mutters as he looks around the room. He takes in the large window with its floral curtains and the numerous family photos, and the growling giant. My thoughts exactly, Hisashi responds as Izuku gasps at the bad word. He winces and shakes his head. Well, you're healed, so goodbye. I don't even know where I am. My house. That doesn't tell me anything, the hero narrows his eyes. Is this a kidnapping? Hisashi should probably not be quite so offended, but retired or not, he's a criminal mastermind, and he has standards. Exactly how incompetent do you think I am? He growls. Izuku, apparently tired of being squashed into Gigantomachia's chest, pipes up. You had an owie, so Papa healed you. And then he turns to the giant. Down, please. An owie. He's 3, Hisashi points out, and nods to his bodyguard to lower his son. Gigantomachia does not look happy, but he obeys, and Izuku immediately dashes off. For a moment, they wait in awkward silence, Eraserhead obviously trying to figure out a good escape route, and Hisashi might just be trying to decide how to murder him without Izuku noticing. Could I borrow a phone? The hero finally asks. Sure, Hisashi sighs, just as Izuku rushes back in. But give him an autograph, will you? It's rather comforting to see Izuku's eyes are just as effective when turned on a pro-hero. Hisashi is just plating up dinner when he hears a loud crash coming from the front of the house. Loud crashes are nothing unusual, no matter how well behaved Izuku may be, he's 3, and he has an overgrown bodyguard/playmate who should know better than to indulge him so much. What is unusual is that last he checked, Izuku was well and truly amused watching Eraserhead place a call to his agency. Oh, fuck. There is another, louder crash that has Hisashi sprinting out of the kitchen. He doesn't even fully make it to the living room before something fast and hard hits him in the chest and sent him crashing to the floor. He wheezes, winded, but through the haze he can hear a commotion. Slowly, carefully, Hisashi sits up, just as Ingenium, why is Ingenium in his house, tugs his helmet off and yells into the living room, "Mike, it's a false alarm!" Then he turns back to Hisashi and offers him a hand up. "Sorry, man." "I'm suing you all," Hisashi informs him, clambering to his feet. He winces because he is certainly going to bruise and mentally pencils in another doctor's appointment. "Fair enough," Ingenium sighs, just as Izuku dashes past him and throws himself at his father's legs. "Papa, I don't like heroes," he wails, and Hisashi can feel his headache returning. "They're mean." "Exactly how many?" he asks Ingenium as he picks up his son. "Just me and present Mike," the hero informs him with a wince. "I'm really sorry about this. He's a bit prone to overreacting." "You don't say," Hisashi mutters, and he makes his way past the young man and enters his living room and almost walks back out. He is far too sober to deal with this. The room looks like a tornado tore through it. The window is shattered and there are scuff marks on the floor, and shards of glass and plaster litter the room. Gigantomachia is suspiciously missing, although Kurogiri, complete with shopping bags, is stood by the miraculously untouched TV armed with his keys. Eraserhead, still sat on the couch, is glowering at the tall blonde, his black hair floating. Present Mike seems unconcerned, eyeing Kurogiri suspiciously. "Right, Mike, let's go." Ingenium hurries past Hisashi and grabs the blonde hero by the arm. "Eraser, can you walk?" "Shouldn't we call the police?" Present Mike asks, as he glances away from Kurogiri to Hisashi and back. "I mean, isn't this a kidnapping?" Izuku, who seemed to have calmed down, bursts into tears again, blabbering about how he doesn't want to go to jail, and the blonde hero pales, as if he's only just spotted the terrified child. "Good idea," Hisashi smiles as he spots the wedding photo hanging lopsided on the wall, the frame shattered. It's not a nice smile. "How about you call the police, and I'll call my lawyers. Let's see who gets here first." "Come on, Mike." Ingenium attempts to drag his friend through the door, which is also broken. What is with heroes and breaking things? There's obviously been a misunderstanding. Eraserhead, to his credit, joins in, and between them they manage to get him out of the house before Hisashi has come up with a plan to murder them all, without tracing it back to him. "I took the precaution of sending Gigantomachia away," Kurogiri reports as he picks up his shopping bags. "May I be of any further assistance?" "Go fetch him," Hisashi commands with a sigh as he rubs Izuku's back, "and then fix the door." "My deepest apologies for yesterday's debacle." Hisashi is very much tempted to brutally murder Ingenium, but he suspects that might traumatize Izuku further. He would slam the door closed, but he has a sneaking feeling that it might damage the hinges, and he really doesn't want to explain to the handyman why he's coming back so soon, so he bites his tongue and fixes the hero with his most deadly glare. "I brought a check for the damages, and a gift for the young hero," Ingenium continues, apparently unconcerned. Hisashi is almost worried that he's slipping. "Me?" Izuku perks up, peeking around his father's legs, although he doesn't let up on the death grip on his trousers. "I'm not a hero." "Of course you are." Ingenium grins and squats down, holding out an Ingenium doll as a peace offering, and Hisashi must admit the lad seems to know how to deal with kids. "You helped Eraserhead, didn't you? That sounds pretty heroic to me." "Really?" Izuku smiles and accepts the toy. "Yeah, really." Ingenium laughs and ruffles his hair, then glances up at Hisashi. Hisashi is unmoved. He has experience with manipulation tactics, and heroes are absolutely terrible at them. He knows this from experience. One would think they would at least try to put some effort in when begging for their life. So he just shrugs. "I'm still pressing charges." Chapter 8. Encourage proper socialization. Summary. Izuku goes to his new daycare and makes a friend. Izuku is 3. "I don't want to go," Izuku sniffs as he tries to hide behind Papa. Papa steps aside and gently nudges him forward. Izuku turns back to him because he really wants to go home, where Kurogiri cooks nice food, and Makia doesn't mind pretending he's a villain, and no one says mean things to Izuku. But Papa looks firm as he crouches down, a gentle smile on his face. "Izuku, I know you're scared, and that's fine. If you don't want to come back tomorrow, you don't have to, but I thought we could make a deal." "What deal?" Izuku asks. He wipes at his eyes, and with a sigh, Papa offers up a handkerchief so he can blow his nose. Today is Monday, so if you can make it 5 days until Friday. Papa slowly unfolds all of his fingers in one hand. Then he pauses and takes a deep breath. I'll get us tickets to the Heroes Against Cancer fundraiser. For a second, Izuku stares at Papa. Then he promptly bursts into happy tears, desperately nodding his head, and with a sigh, Papa accepts a box of tissues from the daycare worker. Izuku has wanted to go so badly, even though he doesn't want Papa to think he's greedy. All Might's going to be there after all. Izuku really, really wants to see his favourite hero. He'd even go back to daycare with Kachan. Promise? Izuku asks, offering his pinky once he's calmed down. Pinky promise, Papa says and smiles and nods. He ruffles Izuku's hair. Now, before you know it, Kurogiri will be here to take you home. And if you're scared during the day, just tell Miss Tanaka, okay? All right, Izuku sniffs and steels himself. I love you, Papa. I love you too, Izuku. Papa kisses him on the forehead. Izuku tries not to cry when Papa stands up to leave. Miss Tanaka, who seems really nice, much nicer than the teachers that said Kachan was amazing, leads him to his new classroom. Izuku clutches anxiously at his Ingenium doll and glances around the room, but he can be brave. Heroes are really brave, and Izuku is going to be a hero too, no matter what Kachan says. And Ingenium said he'd been heroic when he helped a race ahead, and Ingenium knows better than Kachan. He's already a hero after all. The room is larger and fancier than the previous daycare, with sunlight streaming through the large windows. Children's artwork covers the wall, and there are several small tables and chairs spread around the room. Several children are already playing, and Izuku realizes, with a sinking feeling, that he doesn't know anyone. He glances at Miss Tanaka, anxious. Do you like heroes too? A loud voice asks him, and Izuku flinches at the unexpected tone. But when he turns back, the speaker turns out to be a bright-eyed boy with blue hair and a wide smile. He doesn't look scary, even if he is taller and bigger, so Izuku takes a deep breath. Ingenium called him a hero. Yes, I do, he nods, clutching his doll tightly. Mrs. Tanaka crouches down next to him, and Izuku takes some comfort in her presence, because even Kachan didn't hurt him when grown-ups were nearby. My name is Tenya, the boy introduces himself and draws himself up proud. My favourite hero is Ingenium. I'm Izuku, Izuku stammers. My favourite hero is All Might, but Ingenium's awesome too. Izuku is new here, Miss Tanaka speaks up, and he doesn't know anyone yet, so I think he might just be a little scared. Can I trust you to make him feel welcome, Tenya? Tenya nods immediately, and the woman smiles and stands up, but does not move away, so Izuku doesn't feel too afraid. Do you want to play heroes? Yes, Izuku nods, and he swings his rucksack off his back. I brought my dolls, so if you want, you could be Ingenium and I could be All Might. Why would All Might and Ingenium both be needed? Tenya frowns, and Izuku pauses unsure, then smiles. Because if a villain has a really scary quirk, like if he can shoot webs and he's attacking a park, and then Ingenium has to move the people out of the way, and there's an army of robot spiders, and so All Might has to fight them first. Izuku glances back up at the other boy, holding his Ingenium and All Might figures. What do you think? It makes sense, Tenya nods, as he takes Izuku's toy, oblivious to Miss Tanaka's barely suppressed giggles. He grins and grabs Izuku's hand and pulls him over to one of the table. Ingenium's always first on the scene. Hisashi adores Tenya. He hasn't actually met the kid yet, but Izuku's barely stopped chattering about his new friend. And as he pauses outside the classroom, he can spot his son's smile as he plays with the blue-haired boy. Izuku really seems to have settled in well, Abiko informs him with a smile of his own, and Hisashi can't help but agree with the daycare director. Getting Izuku a permanent place is surprisingly painless. There might have been a waiting list, but a few million yen, and just a touch of a quirk, but who's to know, helped bump Izuku to the top of that queue. All in all, he's feeling fairly pleased when he leaves the office. He's even considering taking Izuku out for ice cream when he spots a familiar face outside the classroom door and almost legs it through the back. Hello, Mr. Midoriya, Ingenium greets him with a wide smile plastered to his face. The hero pauses, and Hisashi is a terrible sinking feeling, because he knows what's coming next. Don't tell me you're Izuku's father, the young man exclaims. There are several dead heroes laughing their heads off right now. Hisashi just knows it. Wow, your brother's Ingenium? Would it be so wrong for Hisashi to withdraw Izuku and just homeschool him? Hi, Tenya. Izuku. Ingenium greets both boys, unaware or uncaring of Hisashi's dilemma. Izuku's smile grows wider at the recognition. "My name's Tensei Ida. It's wonderful to see you again." "Do you have your toys, Izuku?" Hisashi asks, before Izuku can launch into another fangasm. His son gasps and ducks back into the classroom. Really, he should have suspected. Deka has excellent security, and Tenya, in hindsight, has a suspicious amount of admiration for a relatively new hero. But Hisashi is a good father, so he takes a deep breath and plasters on his best dad smile. "Hello, Tenya," he greets the boy. "My name is Hisashi Midoriya. I'm Izuku's father." Tenya hesitates for a second, and Hisashi will admit he's impressed by his instincts. But then he draws himself up to his full height and bows. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Midoriya, sir." Hisashi isn't entirely sure how to proceed, but then Izuku comes dashing past the Ida brothers and barrels straight into his legs. The impact doesn't even wind him as he springs back up and starts jumping up and down bright-eyed. "Papa, can I come here again?" he asks. "We're going to be acting, and Tenya likes heroes too, and he said that I can come to his house and play, and... It's fortunate that All Might will never know how effective Izuku's smile is. Hisashi would happily hand himself over if it would only make his son happy. Should that day come, he won't have anything left after all. So Hisashi laughs and ruffles his son's hair. "Well, that's good, because you'll be coming here every day from now on." Izuku cheers and launches himself at his father, his happy tears making an inevitable appearance, and Hisashi allows himself to bask in his son's joy. He takes a deep breath and repeats his mantra. "There is nothing I won't do for Izuku." "How about we go for ice cream to celebrate?" he suggests, then nods at the waiting Ida brothers. "My treat." Izuku cheers again and then grabs Tenya's hand to tug him over to the cloakroom. "Sure thing," Tensei's grin widens. "Let me just call our parents, Kay?" "All right," Hisashi nods and follows the boys, knowing they'll need some help with their coats. Once the hero is back, he'll have to excuse himself to place a call of his own. He needs to tell his lawyers to drop his lawsuit against Ida-ten.